Howdy Tabletop RPG fans, thank you for supporting this channel. I'm Wrangleme, Grand Poobah of Game Design, and this review's day topic is Skull Cave Modular Dungeon. I've been playing and dungeon mastering D&D and many other RPGs for a very long time. I love interacting with RPG designers at game conventions or on social media. I've made friends and colleagues around the world, including UK, Sweden, Denmark, Netherlands, Australia, Croatia, and more. I get asked quite often about my favorite RPGs and occasionally about my favorite modules or adventures. Just last week, A.E. Halpin, a fellow RPG designer from Italy, asked about favorite modules on Twitter. I answered, there were no modules when I started in 1987. The 3 add-on books were mostly new rules with just a smidge of setting. We all made our own settings and adventures. 43 plus years later, I still don't use modules. While I don't buy canned modules, I love procedural setting books. These books are high on tables and generators and leave the storytelling to the DM/GM and the players. RPGs like Toon and Murphy's World are jam-packed with tables. Urban settings are adventures like TSR's Lankmar, Chaosium's Thieves' World, Midkemia by Raymond Feist, Thieves' Guild by Game Lords, and Vornheim by Lamentations of the Flame Princess were all very high on procedural table-driven content settings. Also last week, while reviewing new content on the Facebook RPG Zine group, I came across a post for Skull Cave, copyright 2021, a 32-page RPG zine by Lucas Rolm, an RPG designer from Brazil, and he calls it a modular dungeon, not an adventure. Calling an adventure a dungeon is part of the old-school retro side of RPGs that I love. Skull Cave is a set of tables and inspirational questions that help game masters quickly prep and run their own version of the drop-in setting. Lucas describes Skull Cave in this way. Discover the secret of the shifting skull-shaped dungeon that houses the confused mind's insights. The introduction section is an incredible example of learning RPGs with English as a second language. Lucas and his gaming friends would read and interpret the rules as best they could, and then play using whatever improvisational homebrew was required to make sense of the materials. When I learned D&D with just 3 small RPG zines in a white box in the 1970s, there were barely any rules, and a fair amount of the system was left to us to improvise, in much the same way that Lucas did. Skull Cave is 100% RPG system independent, from 5e to OSR and everything in between. You can use this handy RPG zine for your own games. There are 2 key artistic, graphic, and font choice inspirations you will notice. Morkborg RPG by Occult Ostomer Games and Vornheim Urban Setting, both fitting the aesthetics many players prefer. Artwork is old line drawings and woodblock prints out of copyright, along with several Dyson Maps used with commercial license. Skull Cave, as you might have guessed, is a cave that looks remarkably like a very large skull of rock. After explaining the thoughts and inspirations for the systems, the content goes immediately into the generators. I especially like his description, emulate this feeling of necessary improvisation, showing that the goal is not randomness, but procedural purpose. First, the whole dungeon, and then each individual room has prompting questions, ways to inspire the dungeon master to adapt to the players and their own campaign setting. These questions get right to the point. What is the origin of these rock formations? Is the entrance the players find the main entrance or a false one? Are there any marks or traces of previous explorations? And many, many more. Then comes a large set of D4 or D44, 2 D4 used as digits, tables that are also arranged like a drop table. Like the tables in Vornheim, you will drop multiple D4s onto a double-page spread to randomly pick both tables and results. Because you have the option to adapt your results based on the prompting questions, these tables feel less random and more purposeful. The Dyson Maps provide wonderful ideas for content in the cave, with routes and rooms to fill with the large 2-page drop table. Questions can be about story elements, foreshadowing, encounters, or why it might be trapped, and setting backgrounds. There are 3 additional D12 tables for rumors and legends about the place, the skull-shaped background, and traps, including such tidbits as stone giants inhabit the surroundings, the cave is a dimensional cleft, the cave moves around the countryside, carved by kobolds, inversion of gravity trap, acid lake, or hole in the floor. I've already made a great video about one-page dungeons, an RPG zine with 15 terrific yet simple dungeons to explore by Fish in the Pond. What I like about Skull Cave is that it expands this and provides more purposeful intention to the procedurally generated setting, allowing dungeon masters to adapt this easily into an epic adventure. This episode is brought to you by Kaboomkin, the smaller, faster, funnier RPG of cartoon, fairy tale, post-apocalypse mayhem. It's time to blow stuff up. Get it now at www.kaboomkin.com. Thank you all for watching this episode. Hit like, subscribe, or ring the bell, or Booger will get you. If you want to see more videos like this, go to hopspush.com and buy an RPG or t-shirt. Do good, annoy evil, and bye-bye.